1870 roughly it was put in, and then it used to have to be wound by hand twice a day. And so it at that point, when my great-grandfather took over, he essentially modernized it. He built this little room around it. It was just empty, and they had a lot of problems with, well, two problems. Number one, they had pigeons and birds up here, and so they were landing on it, nesting on it, and then they also had a problem with it being cold, and it wouldn't run in the winter because the lubricants would freeze up. And I have it all in all synthetic oils now, so that wouldn't really be the case, but he built this room around it. And now we have climate control heaters and everything in there, but laying over there are the original heaters that he put in, those old coil heaters there. And so he was able to kind of climate control the room. That allowed it to run year round. And he installed these motors here and these essential other gearing mechanisms that allowed it to wind itself, and the system of switches, and the weights of course are there, but the switches to turn the motors off and on. And the motor here that you heard running is actually the original motor that he put in, and I think that was in the teens that he did that. So it's you know, it's had some modifications over the years, but essentially it's the same mechanism. It's my understanding that the Howard company, E. Howard, that designed it, built these to last about 200 years. So it's still doing fine. And this was one of the top-end models that the company produced. I've done some research and seen a lot of pictures of other tower clocks that are quite a bit either simpler or not as visually striking as this is. And the county apparently, you know, didn't spare any expense when putting this in. So it's a nice unit. It should. One nice thing is that even when this gets out of sync like this, because this side regulates how many times it rings, it really doesn't matter what position this is in, because it will essentially reset to the next hour. So it should strike 4 at this point. Mm-hmm. No problem. Now the one thing I'm concerned about is that it isn't wound. What's happening now is this is winding. It's going to wind the gears back up to where it should be. It should have been happening this morning when you heard it. Once that's done, I'll epoxy the pins again. And then so what we're going to do now is we're just going to put epoxy on these pins. And it's kind of like a liquid steel type stuff. And that will essentially hold the pins in for, should work for at least a couple months. I mean, like I say, I check this at least every 2 weeks, usually once a week, and make sure that, that these pins are where they need to be, as well as all the other aspects of the clock. And so about every couple months usually we have to kind of do some new epoxy. And that's just a symptom of age and over 100 years of kind of wear on this particular part. Take light oil, the escapement, which is the part that moves the most here. And this is a kind of a rare 6-legged escapement, it's called. Again, this was part of the design that was much more fancy than probably necessary, but also more accurate. This clock, even in its age, I mean, it's a little dependent on the temperature, but it keeps within probably 2 seconds a week, plus or minus. So it's you know, pretty accurate. So we keep that oiled. Some of the other parts are oiled on a different schedule, and then I'll come over here and I will kind of re-grease the cams here on the striking mechanism, and each one of these is what makes this lever actually strike the bell. The lever's connected directly to the hammer up in the bell tower, which you probably saw this morning, and So when this cam goes by, it kind of creates the little flick of the hammer. So I like to keep them greased, and I just grease whatever part is visible at the time, and usually over the course of the month we get them all greased. So it's not a critical thing, but it helps reduce the wear a little bit.